Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So hopefully you guys have liked and subscribed to a lot of my other videos. I've actually surpassed 1,000 subscribers, so thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Never thought I would have gotten that far. I mean, I was just making these videos to hopefully inform a couple of people here and there, but once I surpassed 1,000, I was like, I couldn't believe it. So I think that's really cool. I really appreciate that. And keep sharing my videos. Keep trying to show other people the real deal with Amazon. You know, I don't think I would ever tell someone not to do it. In fact, sometimes I still encourage people to sell on Amazon. But, you know, you just have to know what you're getting into or what you could potentially get into. So this video here, Tucker Carlson interviews this guy about his product on Amazon that he sells. Now, the difference with what I do, I'm a third-party seller. I do retail arbitrage. This guy, he sells like his own product. So he's a private label seller. So he has his own product. It's like a one single product. But you need to hear what he's got to say too about Amazon. So I'm just gonna play it and narrate as we go along.
Products on Amazon.com is a little bit like masturbation. Not everybody admits to it, but honestly, you suspect it's pretty common. It's just so easy. But what exactly does Amazon.com do? How did Jeff Bezos get so rich? The details are unknown to most people, even frequent users of the site. Well, a new documentary takes a closer look at what Amazon does, at its business practices, and what those practices do to the people who try to make a living selling their products on the site. The documentary is called Amazon, Market, Power, Monopoly. So the filmmakers interview Amazon sellers who say they are barely keeping their heads above water because of the company's policies. And those policies tell them exactly how much they can charge for their own products.
True.
So take a look at this clip from the movie. It shows a German businessman who makes and sells children's beds and does nearly all of his business on Amazon.com. He says the company puts pressure on him to keep his prices low as possible to keep customers from buying that same product on another site, such as eBay. If Amazon finds out that he's selling his products cheaper on another site like eBay, they will punish him by making his products very hard to find on Amazon. And they do this by taking away what is called his buy box. The buy box is the area you click on the product page to make a purchase. If there's no buy box, customers tend to leave and buy it somewhere else.
So yeah, that's true. Actually, it's actually worse than that. They don't make it hard for your product to find. They make it impossible for your product to find. If I have a product, and you know, here I'll just use something as an example here. So let's say I have this fidget spinner right here, okay, and I want to, you know, let's say, you know, it's been selling for like $9.99, okay. So if I want to remain competitive, I'll list it for $8.89. Okay. And a lot of people joke around that Amazon's like a race to the bottom, and it can be because everyone has their repricers set, right? And it'll keep going down and down and down and down by the penny until it gets to the lowest price that someone has it listed at. But anyway, so I'll list this. So on my repricer, I'll put, you know, I want my low price to be $8.49. But then like for my high price, I'll just be like, okay, make it $100 because I don't think it'll ever sell. It doesn't really feel like it doesn't make a difference. So let's say it does sell out. Let's say, you know, for some reason, everyone sells out. Now I'm the only one. My repricer will shoot the price up to $100 automatically. Then Amazon will remove it. That's it. Amazon will remove my listing completely and send me an email saying, you've listed your product for too much and now you can't sell it until you fix your price. So, but they don't tell you what to set your price at. So then let's say I'm like, okay, well, demand for this is pretty high. I'll list it for $50. Nope, that's not going to work. Amazon's going to say, nope, it'll still delist it. The listing will be invisible or will be taken off and it won't be activated. And they'll say, nope, you can't sell it for that. Change your price again. And you just got to keep going until Amazon accepts it. And it's actually the same in the other direction. If I list it too low, if I list this for 1 cent, because let's say I'm just trying to liquidate it because it hasn't sold. I've had products like that. The product won't sell. And I'm just like, I have to just get rid of this thing. I'm going to list it for 5 cents or $1 or whatever. And Amazon will do that. Amazon will remove it and say, you listed it too low. Now you got to list it for this. And they don't care if you sell it or not, because they're getting your money anyway. So, you know, that's a very big problem with Amazon. It's not a free market. I can't list things for what I want. You list it for what they want.
That sounds confusing. Watch the man demonstrate exactly how this is done.
His most important online shop window at Amazon, the so-called buy box, the framed box around the shopping cart field.
So this whole box here, that's just called the buy box, and you can see the add to cart button here. And if I click on it now, then I have this in the shopping cart and I can buy the item.
But Marco Schock can also lose the buy box for his beds. For example, if his prices are not competitive.
That means for me, with buy box, I can sell. Without buy box, 95 to 99% of the sales are gone.
Who gets the buy box is decided by Amazon alone. Marco Schock shows us.
I'm going to change the price to 349 euros. And we will see that in about 15 minutes, the buy box here is gone.
And indeed, after 15 minutes, the buy box has disappeared. For customers, it now seems as if the item is not available at the moment.
It does seem like that.
In other words, Amazon decides what you charge for your products, and if you don't obey, they will shut you down, but in the most passive-aggressive corporate way. They just remove your buy box. It's fascinating, and there's a lot like that in this film. It goes on to follow the business of a man called Molson Hart. He's the CEO of an educational toy company that does most of its business on Amazon. The film crew was there when Hart learned that Amazon would once again raise its fees on him. So in order to turn a profit, he was forced to jack his prices. Watch.
We are probably going to have to raise prices.
Why? What's going on?
So what Amazon did is they increased all the fulfillment fees by about 5%.
I remember.
So if you look over here, we got an email. Shipping brain flakes is going to be 5% more expensive.
Now, the Texan has to recalculate.
In order to keep our profits at the same level, we're going to have to raise the price by, 50 cents. So maybe we're going to go to $17.99, up from $16.99. And
the problem, if he increases,
this video is new, but I don't know if this part where they're showing him talking about the 5% is new. But I don't know if it happened again, but I do know that they did increase their fees by 5%. They put out an email and they said, we're going to increase our fees by 5%, which means literally everybody on Amazon who sells anything on Amazon, their profits went down 5%, like that. And with an email, your profits went down 5%. And with Amazon, the margins are razor thin on making anything. Third-party seller or private label seller, it doesn't matter. It's razor thin.
Increases on Amazon, he must also increase the prices of his products on eBay, Walmart, and even in his own web store, although they are not affected by the fee increase. If he doesn't do that, experience shows that he loses the buy box on Amazon.
Oh, so it's not really a free market tactic. If they're forcing you to raise your prices on other platforms, it's a monopoly tactic. And there's a difference. That's not the free market you just saw. That's how monopolies operate. Molson Hart knows that very well. He's lived it. He's the man you just saw in that clip, and he joins us now. Molson Hart, thanks for joining us. The clip we just played is a fair representation of your life as an Amazon seller.
Yeah, that's absolutely a fair representation of our life as an Amazon seller. If your products are cheaper off Amazon than they are on Amazon, then you lose all your sales on Amazon, which is a big problem for us because 90% of our sales come from Amazon.
So what you're saying, I think, is that Amazon sets the price market-wide, not just on its own site, but on other sites.
Yep.
So is that correct?
In a way, that's true, right? So if you look at the statistics, and a lot of people have different statistics out there, Amazon controls roughly 50% of the whole online e-commerce market, depending on how you calculate it. And for us, since 90% of our sales come from Amazon, and since Amazon is more expensive to sell on than other platforms like eBay, Walmart, or even our own website, Amazon, in a way, kind of does set the price. Because if we price our products lower off of Amazon, because those off Amazon platforms are cheaper than Amazon, we lose 90% of our sales on Amazon. So we have to constantly keep our prices up off Amazon, and we can't lower our prices on Amazon to the costs off Amazon, because then we'll end up losing money.
And the thing is, it's his product. It's 100% his product.
Because Amazon is more expensive to sell on than it is to sell on off Amazon.
That's fascinating. Thanks for watching the episode with Molson Hart. It gives you a sense of what Amazon is really like. Worse than you thought.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want to use Amazon, and up till now you haven't had much of a choice because it's effectively a monopoly, well, now you don't have to, because there's an option. A new service made for you. It's called Public Square, and they're building a brand
right now. But.
So if I could just ask a stupid question, how does Amazon know what you're doing off Amazon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think they do it two different ways. The primary way they do it is basically by using an algorithm that just like scrapes the entire internet, looking at prices on Walmart, looking at prices on eBay. And in the video that you showed in the documentary, that's how Amazon was able to shut down that person's product so fast within 15 minutes. So the algorithm is kind of like monitoring the whole internet to see if prices are higher or lower on and off Amazon. And it might also be possible there used to be like a button on pages on Amazon where consumers could report like a better price elsewhere. So there might be like a human component as well, but it's mainly just an algorithm where they're watching prices on and off Amazon.
But they know when you've been sleeping, they know when you're awake. I mean, it's like they're part of the surveillance data. I mean, you wouldn't imagine, because you're selling on Amazon, that Amazon would be watching your behavior in other places, right?
Yeah, to my mind, it's totally unnecessary, and there's no need for this policy. They used to contractually enforce this. So there used to be a line in the contract that sellers signed with Amazon that would say that you would not sell your products for less off Amazon. And then there was like kind of like a regulatory kerfuffle in Europe, and they ended up removing that from their contracts, but then they maintained the policy algorithmically. And in 2019, I wrote an article about it, and I can kind of explain why it's so hard to get these kind of narratives about Amazon. But I wrote an article about it, and that article ended up getting wrapped up into like an FTC lawsuit, the state of California versus Amazon, and that's why we're talking about it today.
Just back up a sentence, if you would. What do you mean it's so hard to get that story out?
So, like, as I said, right, 90% of our sales come from Amazon.
Right.
And no one in their right mind, wants to bite the hand that feeds them, right? So the people who know most about Amazon are the sellers who are selling on Amazon, like my company, right? And so when people speak up, you're taking some risk. I try to be fair, regardless of whether or not I'm being critical of their policies. I think they're a good company with great people with some bad policies, right? So don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. And then the second thing is my company, all companies.
He looks like, as he was saying that, he's thinking to himself, man, I better take this down a notch, because otherwise they're going to shut me down completely, and they might. I mean, you can't say nothing publicly bad about Amazon as a seller, because they'll screw you. I did it. And guess what? I have no account, so I think as he said that, he started to be like, oh, well, you can't bite the hand that feeds you. So, I think there's a lot of great people at Amazon, but they just have bad policies, now he's worried.
To sell on Amazon, they signed a contract that says that, you're not going to make public statements about Amazon. You're not going to speak to the press without express written permission from Amazon, right? So those are two reasons for the people who know most about Amazon to not speak about Amazon. And then you also have to remember that Amazon is like really big in the documentary media space, because Amazon has its own Netflix, right? They have Prime Video, they have their own Hulu.
Yeah.
So if you want to make a documentary about Amazon, you have to like think carefully about, what's that going to do to your career going forward. I'm not saying Amazon does this, but you may not be able to sell a film or documentary to Amazon in the future. And so, those are the reasons why it's kind of hard to get this information out there.
How long do you think before they get their own defense department?
Defense department, like the Department of Defense, or like
Yeah,
lawyers?
I mean, you're describing a company that's a lot, and of course we all sort of know this on some level, but
they're already putting drones
a
in the
lot
air.
more powerful and a lot more willing to flex its power than maybe some of us imagined just 10 years ago.
Well, okay, so like I am a witness in, I don't know if I'm technically a witness, but I've been pulled into those two lawsuits, the FTC in a bunch of states versus Amazon, and then the state of California versus Amazon. And like generally speaking, I can say this about my interaction because I'm bound by confidentiality in terms of what I can say with the lawsuits.
Yeah.
Like it is an attorney's job to discredit someone who doesn't help the attorney's case, right? And that's pretty much what I have been. Well, that is what is often experienced in lawsuits of this kind. And I went through 16 hours of depositions, 8 hours from the state of California, 8 hours from Amazon. I spent 20 or 30 hours collecting documents, and it's been a very painful, time-consuming, and expensive experience for me.
Sure.
Amazon does a lot of things, but I don't know. I mean, they got the drones, but I don't think they're selling weapons quite yet.
Right. I didn't think they'd have a movie studio and be able to control coverage of their own company a few years ago. So, you never know where these things are going, Molson Hart. But I just wonder, since you've thought about this in larger terms, because you've been involved or witness to these lawsuits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, aren't we approaching the definition of a monopoly? So business is something that controls its silo, where it operates. A monopoly is a business that controls an entire market. And kind of what you're describing is a company that controls online commerce, the pricing.
Amazon, with its weight and the way that they keep on jamming fees down sellers' throats, and this isn't just about me as someone who sells on Amazon complaining about Amazon's fees. Like these fees end up becoming higher prices for you if you shop on Amazon.
Right.
I don't want to say that they control pricing on the entire American internet or the countries where they operate, but they're pretty, they have a lot of weight when it comes to where prices are. In terms of whether or not they're a monopoly, that's not for me to decide. That's for the courts to decide. And like I said before, I sincerely, not just saying it because I don't want to get smacked by Amazon. I mean, I don't. But they are a good company and they have great people, but they do have some bad policies. And I think the best outcome would be for them to, stop with the bad policies. And I wrote an open letter to Jeff Bezos on Twitter. It got some play. I think he read it because he's responded to me on Twitter before, or X, I should say. And I think it'd just be better if they ended the bad policies rather than, potentially being broken up or something like that. But again, that's not really for me to decide.
Well, they're not going to. I mean, he owns the Washington Post, which is the main news source in the capital city. Mm-hmm. So I don't think they're going to be broken up anytime soon. And I suspect the Post would editorialize against that if it came down to it. So let me just ask you, since it's your business, since you're in this business, who makes money selling on Amazon?
Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for us, right? So we have one of our best sellers is Brain Flakes. I got my prop. It's $17. Okay.
Right.
On Amazon right now. And after all the fees are paid, we get $7 out of the $17. Okay. So it's $17 on Amazon. After the fees are paid, we receive $7. With that $7, we have to pay rent, insurance,
thinking we start cutting carbs. I need to drop my belly
$1 a unit, or like $1.
If you want to drop this,
all employees, and then we also have to pay for the cost of the product.
Wait.
So
wait. So the $10 you're subtracting from the 17 does not include your manufacturing costs, or
no?
Correct.
Amazon.
Yeah. So you start at 17. 10 of those dollars, and I can run through the fees.
Would you mind? Well, because that's a crazy number.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to break down?
Would you mind? Yes. I mean, wait, hold on.
Yeah, sure.
I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, I thought they took a VIG of some kind, and they should have. They're selling your product for you. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they would take the majority of the retail price is stunning to me.
Yeah.
Well, it's more than the majority, and you have to remember that we are not selling to Amazon. We are selling on Amazon. So all the risk is with us. If the product doesn't sell, Amazon has no risk. They can actually just continue to charge us fees. Not only that, they'll charge us like extra double fees for having too much inventory at Amazon.
So he's right. So the risk is all on you. So I've sent my product to Amazon, and if it doesn't sell, they'll continue to charge me storage fees, and they only give you a certain amount of space to store stuff. So if that space is taken up, then they start to charge you more if you need more space. And there's fees on top of fees. Even if you're not selling anything, there's still fees.
So yeah, at the risk of embarrassing myself on your show, I will attempt to do some math, and I'll tell you how we go from $17 down to $7 all the way down to our profit. Yeah, let's do it. All right, so $17. First, in our category in toys, Amazon charges 15%. Okay, so that's
sell in that category.
So let's call that around $250. Okay, so 15% of $17. So now I'm down to $14.50. Okay, then we have to pay a fulfillment fee to Amazon. That's around $6.60. So I think I'm at $14.50. So that gets me to $8. That gets me to $7.90. Okay, so just those two things, the 15% commission and then the $6.60 fulfillment fee that Amazon charges, I believe got me down to $9. I'm embarrassing myself, but something like the high sevens.
Yeah.
And then we have to pay advertising and storage and shipping to Amazon, and that gets us down to around $7. Okay,
it's probably less than
so we receive $7 when one jar of Brain Flakes is sold, and with that $7, we have to pay our rent, our employees' salaries, our insurance. We even have to insure Amazon as well. Okay. And then we have to pay for the cost of the product, which is like, let's say $3.50. So on the $17, we'll make, depending on what our costs are, because costs go up and down, between $3 to $4. So our profit is about $3 to $4 out of the $17. And there are like all sorts of crazy fees I can walk you through.
To his numbers,
it's wild.
It's less than that.
That is amazing. That's not at all what I imagined at all. So the strong majority goes to Amazon right off the top. So then how could you make a living doing? I mean, how many Brain Flakes do you have to sell to like take a week off and go to Disney World in August?
Disney World's pretty expensive.
Yeah,
but,
it is.
We're lucky to sell hundreds of thousands of jars of Brain Flakes and bigger sets. And so if we're making $3 to $4 a jar or whatever, and if you sell $100,000, you do have money to pay salaries and rent and all that stuff, and you can maybe go to Disneyland once every 2 years, I would say.
Does anyone get rich selling that you know of? Get rich selling on Amazon?
Yeah, people still do get rich. I think a lot of Chinese companies have gotten rich as well. Pretty crazy statistic for you: over 50% of the top sellers on Amazon are not American. Okay, so in the U.S. marketplace, like let's say 52% of the sellers are non-American, and of that 52%, the top sellers are of that 52%, they're predominantly Chinese. And the Chinese sellers, even though we're selling in the United States, even though it's our country, we should understand how marketing works here. It's our language. They just clean up. They do very well in terms of market share. They don't all make money, but many of them do. It's still possible to make money on Amazon.
You're not even describing the source of manufacturing. I mean, I think the number would be a lot higher than 52% if you were measuring where the stuff was actually made. But you're talking about the sellers.
Right.
Yeah, that's such an excellent point. So if you go back to like the 1970s, 1980s, we had a lot of manufacturers in our country. We were making things. All those factories shifted largely to China, some to Mexico, overseas generally. What's going on now is that the Chinese and other countries to some extent are kind of vertically integrating, and they're taking over the product design and wholesaling and distribution that had traditionally has been in the United States.
Yeah.
So once upon a time, you could buy from an American factory. Okay. And the American factory would sell its product to an American store or whatever. And then we had this transitional period where Chinese factories were selling to distributors who were selling to stores, or Chinese factories were selling to Target or whatever. What's happening now is that Chinese factories are selling directly on Amazon to US consumers.
Yeah.
And the net result of this, because the playing field is in the Chinese favor, and I can kind of explain why, is that the US like wholesale distribution product design industry has come under threat from very tough, difficult competition from China. And so now, like, we lost our factories, and in my opinion, I think we're going to lose this middle part of our economy, largely to companies in China.
How does China have a structural advantage in this?
So for one, these Chinese sellers,
I'll tell you how. A lot of it is they steal other people's intellectual property. So like this guy's product, for example, I bet there's 4 or 5 copies of his product, from China listed on Amazon. The other thing is that just like on eBay in China, they'll open up an account and they'll start selling stuff on there. And then if the products that they sell are garbage and they get like too many complaints, and when I say too many, I mean they have to get thousands. I've seen sellers that have like 80% positive feedback, and you look and it's like every other thing is a 1-star complaint, and they're still in operation. So and everyone and they work with the people in India that answer these phones and handle these accounts. Everything that happens with Amazon is happening in India. As far as a seller, my account got shut down by people in India. The people in India answer the phones. They do all that stuff. And so they're just taking money. If I would bet you that the person who could turn my account back on, if I offered them money, my account would be back on. I'm sure of it. So, if an account gets shut down, they just open another one, and they'll open 10, they'll open 15, they'll open 20 different accounts on Amazon, and it'll never end.
They're selling on Amazon. They don't have to file U.S. Income tax returns. They don't have to worry about estimated taxes like we do. They're close to the factory, so they can iterate on products much faster.
Would you still go to your job
It's like
Amazon?
It's like a fast drop shipping is what it really is.
There's a little loophole on Amazon.
They have lower costs, and that's enough. They're less susceptible to lawsuits because they're overseas, and it's just, they may or may not have government subsidies, or just like, think about it. If you want to design a new product, isn't it a lot easier to like go down the street to the factory, talk to the guy, work that out, than it is to like communicate over video, fly to China, deal potentially with a quarantine, and work that out in order to make something new? So the Chinese have a lot of advantages when it comes to selling on Amazon. And what's wild is like, we're sellers on Amazon. Whenever we get an email from Amazon, like the top part, it's in English, and then like the bottom part, it's all in Chinese, because so many sellers are Chinese on Amazon.
Amazing. Are you going to continue doing this?
Selling on Amazon?
Yeah.
Or we're gonna, for many years we've tried to reduce that. It used to be 98%. Usually before, 98% of our sales were on Amazon. We've gotten it down to 90%. And then in 2023, we've gotten it down a little bit lower. And so we're just continuously trying to reduce our dependence on Amazon. But it's so difficult in the toy space. It's hard, but like, I like what I'm doing. I like my team, and like, it feels really good to like make something, and then to make something that's like good for people, like, helps spatial thinking. It's an educational toy. So yeah, I want to keep doing it.
Last question, I can't resist. Is Molson Hart your real name?
No, it's a fake name. No, it's real. So
it's like the greatest name ever.
My brother's name is Hilton, and
so that's about it. So yeah, the most interesting, I was most interested in this video because I wanted to hear more about how Amazon controls the pricing, which in a way I already knew, because I did know that if I list something for too high a price or even too low of a price, Amazon will remove the listing until I change the price. However, they don't tell me what to change the price to. And I think that's the thing. That little thing is what's keeping them from being charged as a monopoly, because, or a non-free market, because they're like, well, we think your price is too high. Well, what should it be? Oh, well, I mean, I can't tell you that, but I mean, it is a little high. And then, by the way, you're not going to be able to sell it until you lower the price. To what? Once again, I can't really tell you that. And that's what they're doing, So it's crazy. And I was curious. I'm going to see if I can share my screen on that dude's product, because I just want to see. It's right here. I just want to see if it yeah. So that's his Via Heart is his company. And then he's got like different, I can see it here, but so this one, and right next to it is Picasso Tiles. See, he's got a ton of positive feedback on that. That's really good. It seems like he's doing well. Unfortunately, he's not making as much money as he probably should be making. However, it looks like there's already a copy of his product on here. If you look close between these two, right here, the Picasso and then his product, they're the same. It's basically the same thing. These wheels that look like they interlock or whatever. But let me scroll down a bit. So here's some more here. Picasso Tiles and Tomu, same thing, right? Building blocks do the same type of thing. So his product has already been copied a couple of times, but his product, Via Heart, it still seems like it's dominating, which is really good for him. I mean, I love to see small businesses grow. I can't tell you. So this is his main product right here. I'm going to click on it real quick. I just want to see what it looks like. So yeah, it's $16.99. Luckily now look, there's other sellers. Who is this? I don't know. All right, sorry, all my stupid pop-ups. Who are the other sellers? Oh, it's just him. Yeah, it looks like it's just listed twice for some reason. But yeah, so anyway, he's the only seller, which is good. And that's because I'm sure he's got it restricted for other sellers. But there's definitely at least one or two other copies. But luckily for him, they don't seem to be doing very well. I just want to go back and look. So this Picasso one only has 87 positive feedback. And this other one, this one has 2,100. So that's a lot. But yeah, that's one of the things they do in China is they steal our intellectual property a lot too. And Amazon doesn't do anything about it, unfortunately. They'll say, oh yeah, we'll remove it, but because it's from a Chinese company, another one will pop up right away. So, but that's all I got about that. I hope you found that interesting about the pricing, because that's the part that I was most interested in was, how Amazon controls the price of things, and not just on Amazon. I did, and I'll give you one last example. I had a Under Armour, like a gym bag, and I listed it on Amazon, and it wasn't selling, and it should have been. And I had the price where it was supposed to be. I was never getting the buy box, and this was years ago, but I wasn't getting the buy box and all this other stuff. So I listed it on eBay. Now I had shipped them to Amazon, but I listed it on eBay for the same price, and they were selling. And what I did was I forget exactly how I did it now. I'd have to be on there to remember, but I can have the product shipped from, I can have Amazon ship the product to the person who bought it for, you know, whatever the shipping fee is. So when I listed it on eBay, I would charge shipping, and then I was having it shipped from Amazon to the person on eBay, which is kind of a weird kind of drop shipping thing, but I mean, it was, you know, it was whatever. It still sold. So, but maybe that's part, I don't know why, you know, maybe that's part of the reason why it wasn't selling, because I had it listed in a different marketplace. I don't know if they were doing that back then, but you know, just that's something you got to keep in mind with your pricing. You know, if you are the only product, if you only, you know, if this is in high demand, if this thing is selling 10,000 units a day and it's sold out and no one's getting it, and you have it and you list it for double what it was selling before, Amazon could shut you down because they'll tell you, oh, that's too high of a price. So, you know, completely unfair in my opinion. But hopefully, I mean, hopefully Amazon has some severe policy changes. In a weird way, I kind of hope one day there's a class action on people whose accounts were shut down like mine. And hopefully, you know, we can get Amazon to change some of their policies, because, you know, why do we have to worry about showing them the right paperwork? You know, you show them the right paperwork and they don't want to take it, and there's no explanation. And they even tell you, oh, I can't tell you for privacy reasons. Whose privacy, mine or yours? You're shutting my account down. So whose privacy are we talking about? So anyway, lastly, please like and subscribe. And I really appreciate getting to 1,000 followers. I think that's really awesome and really cool. And I thank all of you guys for checking out my videos. And please continue to check out my videos and even use them for reference in the future. And I'll say this, I've been thinking about doing a live. I'm not sure. I guess I'd be worried that I'd be the only one on it. But you know what? If you want me to do a live, put it in the comments, because then for one, I'll know you watched this video to the end, and two, I'll know you really want me to do a live. So if you want me to do a live, tell me in the comments. So thanks for watching.